Hi, this is Trey Smith, founder of BuildBox, and welcome to the Game Business Challenge. This is day one, and we're going to focus today on just the basics of BuildBox, building out a really simple game so you can see how the software works and learn the fundamentals. The first thing you'll need to do is download and unzip the art pack that is on the 30-day game challenge page, right there on day one next to this video. When you unzip it, you'll notice that we have 5 different folders for backgrounds, characters, enemies, objects, and power-ups. I'm going to go over the backgrounds and characters and objects today, and we're going to use these other images later on when we dive into more advanced features of BuildBox. The first thing you'll want to do is drag and drop a background image into the software. Now, if I double click on this background folder, you'll see we have 2 different sets of backgrounds here available. We have Mystic Mountains and Ocean Breeze. I'm going to go ahead and try Mystic Mountains. I'm going to grab this first image, which is going to be the sky. I'm going to drag it into the software and drop it on the background section of the drop wheel. And this is how you put all images into your game. You just drag and drop them right into the interface. Now you can see this is obviously really big, so I'm going to use my mouse wheel to scroll out, and now I can see the full scene of my game. And this is how BuildBox works at its core. Down here we have different scenes. This is the start scene. It's going to be where the character starts their game. Then we have scene 1 right here. And of course we can add as many scenes as we want or delete also if we want to as well. Instead of thinking of a scene as a level, think of it as an event. Let's say you wanted to make an endless game, and BuildBox makes both level games and endless games. But if you wanted to make an endless game, each scene might be really small. It might just be a very small portion of your game that is going to be mixed and matched at random with other scenes. So unlike levels, which are typically really long, you can make a scene really long or you can make it really short. It's totally up to you. We'll talk more about doing level games and endless games, and honestly, if you're doing a 30-day game challenge, making an endless game is going to be a lot easier, and they're very popular on mobile, so we'll probably put some focus on there, but we'll show you guys how to use the software in full. But for this example, we're going to go ahead and click on Start, and we're going to choose a very short scene to start off with. Now, there's something I noticed wrong immediately. Notice we have some black space up here at the top and here at the bottom. Well, if we hit the play button here and preview the game, we're going to see that's going to be in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and I can move this up or down as needed, and I can also extend it and change the scale and make it bigger or smaller. So I'm going to choose a scale to make it a little bit bigger to fill up all the areas there, and then I'm going to drag and drop some other elements in. We're going to grab the mountain here, and I'm going to position this where I want it, and just for example's sake, I'm going to move this up a little bit and zoom in so we can see it good. Then I'm going to grab the other mountain here, put that as a background, pull it down here, and then also some clouds. We'll put that as a background right here. And if I wanted to, I could also grab this ground layer and pull it down here. Now, there's one problem though. In BuildBox, a background element isn't something you can actually walk on. And we're probably going to want our character to walk on here if we make a platformer style game. So we probably want to input this as a platform. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So what I'm going to do is delete this. Then I'm going to pull this down and make sure that we don't have any black space or any kind of weird elements there. And I'm going to hit this button right here to scroll the backgrounds and see what my game is going to look like. All right, so pretty cool, but I see a problem here. All these elements are moving at the same speed. And if we have them all move at different speeds, it'll have a nice parallax 3D style effect. So what I'm going to do is click on these clouds. I'm going to change the speed to 1.5. Now they're moving a little bit faster. We're going to do this speed 1.7. And then we're going to make this one 2. So now we have a good 3D effect. Just like if you're looking out of a car window while the car is driving down the road, you might notice that things up closer to you are moving faster, it appears, than the things way off in the distance. So we have that same style of effect here. I'm going to click this button to stop scrolling the background, and then I'm going to lock the backgrounds. And by doing this, I can't click on them accidentally. As we're playing with characters and other objects, we don't want to accidentally click the background over and over. Now it's time for us to back up and check out the different characters. And in your art pack, you'll have 2 different characters. You'll have an angry cat, which is great for a platformer style game, then a hipster bird, which is good for a Flappy Bird style game or any type of space shooter, any flying game, helicopter, jetpack, joyride style games. All right, we're going to go with the hipster bird. Now we have two different animation sets. I'm going to click on idle, and obviously we have a defeated as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on this button here on the Mac so I can see all the files. And if I highlight all of these and hit the space bar, it's going to actually pull up a preview. I can use the arrow key and then cycle through the animation. You can actually see it cycling through the files right there. And this is what this character looks like. What I'm going to do is just make sure all these are highlighted in order, and you can hold down the shift key again to highlight. I'm going to drag them and bring them over to character, and then just let it go there, and it loads the character up into BuildBox. So now if I click here, I'm going to see a character and I have all these different animations. We have shooting animations, bullet animations, jump animations, move animations, then of course defeated animations. Now if we go back here and we double click on this defeated folder, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to highlight this, hit the space bar, and we're going to cycle through the animation so you can see it there. And that's what it looks like once the character becomes defeated. So I'm going to move it right over here, drag and drop these into the defeated section. Then of course we'll see it right there. Now if you want to preview at any time, you can also do it within BuildBox. You can click the edit button here, and then we can hit play and cycle through. Now that looks like it's moving a little bit fast to me. So I'm going to click right here, choose 0.8, and then slow down the speed here. I'm going to do it a little bit more. Let's do the animation speed at 0.5, and make sure we hit enter there. And there we go. And that looks pretty good. All right, of course we could keep on tweaking that if needed. I'm going to go up here and do the same thing with this guy and check him out. And that one actually doesn't look too bad to me, so we're going to go ahead and stick with that. Now that we have a character, I'm going to back out and go to objects. I'm going to look for a platform box right here. We have two different platform boxes. We have this one, and then we have this one as well. I'm going to go with this first one here. Close out this preview. I'm going to drag it in here and drop it in the object section. Now, objects are pretty interesting. You can make multiple different styles of objects here. We can do a platform, which would be something a character could walk on. We could do a physics object, and this would be an object that a character could hit and it would bounce around in the world with real physics. We could do an enemy. Obviously, if the character hit this one, then it would be defeated. It would be game over. We could do a decoration. The character would just go right through this. Or we could even make a bullet, attach it to the character. He could use that as a bullet. Or wheel, and have full physics where we could do a motorcycle style game and attach wheels to this bird if we wanted to. We'll be going over some of these in future videos. But for now, let's just stick with a platform. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And the first thing I notice is this is a really big character. If you think about this being like an iPhone 5 size, right, or the iPhone 6. If we go widescreen, this would be a huge character on the screen. So what I'm going to do is make this guy smaller. I can do that with these handlers and make him as small in any size I want. Of course, I can manually dial this in as well and bring him back to the scale of 1.1. And what I'm going to do is hold down Shift and then pull it down until I have a really good size, and that keeps the aspect ratio tight right there. Now I'm going to put him right here, and wherever we put him is where he's going to spawn when we start the game. I can hit the preview button and show you, and there he goes. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with this box here. I'm going to hold this down, make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to build out a quick little world. By hitting D on your keyboard, you can duplicate an item to the right. If you hit W, it'll duplicate it up, A to the left, and then S down. Just WASD on your keyboard. Now let's hit this gear button, and that's going to pull up our settings. And we can click on gameplay, and we can choose a gameplay preset. Now we have a lot of presets here from a lot of popular gameplay styles, from platformers, runners, motocross, side shooters, avoidance games, jumping games, helicopter style games like Jetpack Joyride, and more. But you can also dive in and change all of the real world physics in your game. We have options for everything from air drag, platform friction, and how high your character jumps, and how much he bounces when he lands on the ground. And then of course how fast that the game actually moves, how much friction's in the world, all kinds of really crazy stuff. And you can do some pretty wild things by tweaking and moving these sliders around. But for now, we're just going to choose the Flappy gameplay style. And then you can see it changes all of these elements. And this is what's interesting. All these gameplay presets, all they actually do is just change all of these sliders for you. Now, typically a Flappy game is a portrait game. But I'm going to click here and choose landscape. That way it's easier to see while I'm playing the game. Then we have the game frame settings. This is where the character is going to be. Are we going to allow him to go all over the screen? We want to keep him just in this section. And then also, what do we want to happen to the character when he hits a border? Do we want him to die when he hits it down here? We can make it red and make it so. Do we want to make it just block him? In this case, I'm just going to do block, and I'm going to say the character stays around here. Then also, I'm going to try to keep him around the same area, also where he is going to default to, where he's going to spawn when we initially start the game. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this one, but keep this one here, and we're going to try to get out of this area. When I hit the play button, I'm going to be able to play my game and use the J key on my keyboard to jump. That's going to flap the wings. So here we go, the character's flying, everything looks good, and he's staying where he's supposed to be. You can't see this invisible line. Actually, if we go into debug mode, you can. And this is where we are keeping him in line right here. And of course, if we wanted to change that at any time, we could go right here, and then we'd go to gameplay, and we could say, look, we feel like he should be able to go a little further out right there. And then we could go in or out of debug mode easily to be able to see everything. So this brings me to one last point I want to bring up in this intro video, and that is collision shapes. When I go like this and click on this debug mode button, you can see the collision shape. And for example, the character has a square collision shape. This means when he runs into a box, he's going to be just like a square running into the box. This is what BuildBox actually sees. BuildBox doesn't see the images, it sees these collision shapes. And if we want to change these collision shapes, it's really easy. We can click right here, and under every object, doesn't matter if you click on a box or if you click on a character, we have edit collision shape. And then we can choose a circle, and then we can move it down here, resize as needed, and there we go. And now he's going to be a circle, and that makes more sense. That way he won't hit the invisible edges there, and people won't wonder what's going on in their game. So that's the basics of BuildBox. Now you know how to drag and drop art into the software, how to edit collision shapes, and even change the world physics. And of course, this whole time we were just playing around with the start scene. Right now you could edit scene 1 or scene 2, add in new objects, pull in some different objects or even an enemy, and just simply designate it an enemy instead of a platform. And you can play around with the software and get to know it a little bit more. Of course, over the next few days, we're going to be showing you guys some advanced options in BuildBox, and then we're going to dive in and talk about level design and how to make games that are really fun. Just so you know, I want to leave you with one more thing. Right now, by default, BuildBox will randomize all of these scenes that you play. So you can go through, you could make 100 scenes if you wanted to, and it would randomly play them in a different order every time and make a really cool endless game out of it. That's the default setting. We'll talk about levels and all of that at a later time. So thanks for checking out day 1 of the Game Business Challenge. In the next video, we're going to talk about scenes, so look out for that tomorrow.